USC and UCLA, this is their final season in the Pac-12. They are about to enter the Big Ten, and I keep hearing a lot of narratives thrown around. Two of the most popular ones that I really disagree with are the fact that, oh, those Cali boys ain't going to be able to play in them cold weather, 30 degree, 20 degree, cold, snowing conditions. And then, you also got the people saying that the athletes going from different time zones is going to mess them up. So, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think those really are going to have an effect on USC and UCLA, or are they kind of going to like, you know, modify things a little bit towards them in a sense?
I think initially it will be disastrous, but only in big games. I think UCLA, there's some major problems for them going to adjust. Like they have Dante Moore, they're set at quarterback, they can use the portal. But watch the Oregon Ohio State game, the 2014 national title, and tell me with a straight face. Also, watch Scott Frost, Nebraska, who ran the same offense as that Oregon team, and tell me with a straight face that that offense will work in the Big Ten. It won't. The no huddle spread option will just get crushed by any defense with any size in the Big Ten. Now, USC is more interesting because they recruit better all around. They use the portal even better. Lincoln Riley's a proven coach. But in 2024, they head to Michigan and Penn State. Well, they host Michigan, but they head to Penn State. The Michigan game, at least, they get travel advantage. They get the weather, but still, we'll get to that after I talk about. With Singleton returning and Katron Allen returning, because they will in 2024, USC will surrender like 300 rushing yards. Like that will be the game where we look back and it's like, whoa, this isn't competitive. And that might be the game that finally gets Alex Grinch fired. But I think when they face like a Penn State, a Michigan, an Ohio State, where they run the football and they do it well, or maybe like even Minnesota or Wisconsin, they're going to have a hard time stopping teams that can control games and run the football well, because USC's defense thrives off of turnovers. And offensively, I mean, Oregon State is like kind of built off what Paul Chryst used to be at Wisconsin, and they held USC to 17 points, pardon me. So I think initially it'll be a huge struggle, but USC should adapt. They have the recruiting. UCLA is a little bit trickier.
Man, like I feel like UCLA will be okay though, because one thing about UCLA and Chip Kelly is that Chip Kelly is one of the best offensive minds in college football. Probably may not be better than Lincoln Riley, but I think we both can agree he's like top five. So when you look at Chip Kelly, I kind of feel like he's done a really good job of tailoring his offense around. It's not finesse like how it used to be now with speed. They went from having guys like LaMichael James, the Anthony Thomas that were really killing you with speed, and then they go to a Zach Charbonnet from Michigan, and Zach Charbonnet was a different kind of back. He was powerful. You could run him up through the tackles. And, I do feel like UCLA has become a little bit of a team that kind of has started to embody a different physical style of play more than other teams. But it's like, I feel like if there was a team who could get their defense figured out first, I feel like it probably could be UCLA. UCLA already has made a change at defensive coordinator, and they do have a pretty good amount of experience on that defense. And they do use the transfer portal pretty well. A lot of the guys that they get in the transfer portal do pan out. So I do feel like UCLA could at least hang around in the Maryland territory.
Yeah. I think like middle of the pack, lower half of the conference is where they're definitely going to start. And another thing too is like, I'm not saying Dante Moore is Dorian Thompson Robinson, because Dante Moore is a higher ceiling, but watch DTR against Pittsburgh, where like Pittsburgh just mentally broke him and he had to be benched. Imagine what like half the Big Ten's defenses are probably as good as that Pitt defense. Like, so the Zach Charbonnet thing is actually a really good point. I just think it will be at least an adjustment. But you agree with that too. I think that we're both pretty set that it'll be an adjustment. And believe me, it'll be an adjustment for like, I mean, Michigan going to USC or like even Ohio State or Penn State, but especially Michigan and Penn State, who don't necessarily have that star talent advantage. That would be tough, especially if they have any vulnerability in any realm of defense. They'll get picked apart. Because, like Lincoln Riley, he went into the horseshoe and he dominated in 2017. So it's not like he can't win the Big Ten or he can't outcoach some of the best coaches in the Big Ten. So there's that too.
Yeah, man. And then like right out the gate next year, how good do you think USC is going to be? Are they going to be able to win the Big Ten year one next year?
Do I think they're going to win the Big Ten next year? USC? That's who you're asking?
Yeah.
I was sort of surprised just because my answer is a resounding no. But
You
that's
don't think
just
so?
me.
Why
No.
not?
Look, I mean, Caleb Williams is going to be gone. Now they have Malachi Nelson. But I actually have their schedule because I'm weird and I made way too early 2024 predictions for the Big Ten and the SEC, which is really interesting. If any of you in the comments want to see a video on that in August, I'll certainly do it. But USC, they go to Penn State, they go to Purdue, they go to Maryland, but they also host Illinois, Iowa, Michigan, Wisconsin. I mean, there's so many different variables. And Michigan, Penn State, if Wisconsin like can reload after losing a ton of people, Iowa and Illinois are always stout defensively. I mean, I have a lot of an easier time like saying that Ohio State and Penn State probably in the driver's seat because of schedule, talent, returning production. Michigan, even though they might be power rated higher than even Ohio State or Penn State, they have a really tough schedule. I slot USC in like that fourth. I don't think they're in the tier 1A to be favored. It just, they can, but I don't think they will. What about you? Do you think they're going to come out and win it in year one?
I think they are. Like, I really think that USC, with the talent and the recruiting classes that they've been bringing in under Lincoln Riley, I don't think they're gonna have any problem coming out the gate. It's still football at the end of the day. It's like, USC, one thing about them is they're gonna have good offensive linemen. They're gonna have good wide receivers. They're gonna have great quarterback play. Lincoln Riley is a quarterback guru. Look what he's done with his previous couple of quarterbacks. But when you look at their defense, yeah, their defense is going to have some concerns, but it's like their offense is going to be good enough to outscore nearly anybody.
Yeah, that's true. It also depends on how the schedule aligns because we know the games, but we don't know the dates yet. But I just want to say for like USC and for them hosting Michigan, it's a weather thing. They won't have to be the ones traveling. But jet lag, and imagine if the Penn State game's in November, so it's going to be really cold. And you line up Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen and Drew Aller, who by 2024, even though I don't think he's going to be great this year, he's definitely going to be great then. I have a hard time not seeing like gaping holes, wide open play action passes, and a hornet's nest of a crowd. I just have a hard time seeing it. Like a team like Penn State or Ohio State, I don't know. But if they win in an environment like Beaver Stadium and they win in year one, I'll give you full props. I'll admit that I'm wrong. I mean, I'm the guy who predicted Nebraska was going to go 10-2 and be a top 10 team last year, and that just imploded on itself. So, is what it is.